Hello everyone, Cilantro here. I want to show you guys something that I made the other day on the Hermitcraft server. Been playing on there quite a bit. I actually found two skeleton spawners within range of each other, and I wanted to make an XP farm using the both of them. And during the design of it, I realized I wanted to use a crusher, basically a mechanism that would crush the skeletons down to the point where I could kill them with a splash potion. And I needed a timer that was going to be fairly exact in how long it would actually do the crushing. Now I've tried this with redstone before, and to be honest, it's hard to get that sort of thing down, at least for me. I'm pretty good with redstone, but I do have my shortcomings when it comes to designing certain things. But this I can wrap my head around. This is a design, and there's two of them here. They're basically mirrors of each other, so you can build them either way. This is a timer of sorts that when you press the button, it will activate for a certain amount of time, and it will also go through a sort of deactivation cycle for a certain amount of time. As you can see, the activation is over, and now the deactivation is going. There's actually two different timers going on here. They're roughly the same amount, so the amount of activation time is around roughly the same amount as the deactivation time. And you can use this for a number of various reasons. I really encourage, anytime anybody uses redstone, really, to try to design something of their own that, you can use something like this for. You'll have many times where you'll need something to be open for a certain amount of time off of a simple button press, like a door or a trap of some sort. Or you could even use it as a crusher like I did. You press the button, this extends for a certain amount of time, and then pulls back. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. In this case, it's got a few other nice little features. For one, if you continually power it, if you basically spam the button, it'll actually stay on pretty much the entire time. Now, obviously, there's going to be a little bit of miss occasionally because of how buttons work, but if this was powered continuously, it would stay on continuously, and then as soon as you let go, it immediately kicks into the off cycle. And the reason that this works, I'll get into here in just a minute, but it's one of those things where you can sort of hold the door for a friend, but it'll still close immediately. Or if you want to just happen to crush the creatures in a spawner completely, just kill them and don't even worry about the potential for XP. You can just hold the button or hit the button again after it's about to end, and it'll still go through. So I'm going to go ahead and explain exactly how this works. You have a button which of course powers this line of redstone. There are 4 hoppers here, and each hopper feeds into the next. So you have this hopper which feeds into the second, which feeds into the third, which feeds into the fourth. So the first one is the hopper that you use to dictate how long you want the timer to be active. My testing on the spawner, it takes about 22 items worth to get a perfect crush on mobs, which is roughly 1 item per tick for the crush, because it takes 19 ticks of damage in order to take a mob from full health to half a heart left. Just happened to be nearly a 1-to-1 ratio with this particular design, but you can use up to 5 stacks worth of items, which is quite a bit. And so what happens is you press the button, and this activates this redstone line here, which of course activates the crusher itself in this case, or whatever else you need. Whatever outputs you need can be pulled off of this redstone line right here. It also deactivates this torch, which allows this hopper to flow. Hoppers will not dispense their product if they are powered by redstone. So disabling this torch will remove the power, thus enabling this to flow. So when we hit the button, the items start pouring out of here. In addition, this hopper right here, as it continues through, the items will hop from here to this hopper. This hopper, as long as it's active, it will be active as long as it's continually emptying, will also power the redstone line. So it essentially acts as a what you would call a pulse extender. A pulse is given to the redstone line via the button. The button or the power then becomes active, which also then powers itself for the duration of this hopper emptying. Simultaneously, while this line is active, it will affect this hopper right here, hopper number 4 if you will, and it will prevent it from emptying. So what happens is you press the button, all of the items flow all through the system till here, they stop, and then as soon as it's completely empty, it then refills back into the original hopper to be used again. So there's pretty much no way you could break this. No matter how much you spam the button or use the button in any odd way, the system is self-resetting no matter what. I don't think there's anything you could possibly do to potentially break the system. But as you can see, this hopper is emptying. This one is filling. As soon as this one is completely empty, the system will reset and it'll go back into its original state. With these two timers here, you have plenty of options. You can use either of them or both. The first one I chose to use just this simple one. You don't have to have the indicator lights here. Obviously, they're just for the purposes of showing how the system works. But you can see that roughly you get the same duration here, just doubled. So if this goes for 40 pulses of whatever you're doing, then this will go for 80. And so on. So plenty of ways you can do with this system. And I'll go ahead and show you how to build one. They're pretty straightforward. You're going to need a few hoppers. You're going to need some redstone dust, of course. A redstone torch, a redstone comparator, a redstone repeater, and then whatever building material you like. Let's do, I don't know, lapis. Gotta love lapis. So you start off by sort of building your frame. We'll go ahead and basically mimic the same one that we have on the previous. Make yourself a little, I don't know, curly Q type thing. 3 across that angle, 5 across that side. And then you also need to build the extensions as well as where the button will go, which we forgot a button. So we'll put a button there. Then we line this with redstone. This button will power the redstone line here. Go ahead and do that. We put our redstone torch. As long as it's under this hopper, it doesn't matter if it's on this edge or this edge. Either one is fine. And then we can go ahead and place our hoppers themselves. Now hoppers are a little awkward because of how they're placed. We have to sort of put a starter block in the way before we can place the rest. And we want to make sure these feed into each other in the correct order. Make sure that the last hopper, which should be powered by this raised redstone, this one should feed into the first one. So number 1 is here, number 2, and you can see again in the mirrored version, it's exactly the same thing, except this hopper right here, number 1 feeds into number 2, number 3, and number 4. And so once we have the hoppers all placed, they should all be pointing at each other. You can actually change the redstone line up. You need a comparator here. This pulls the quantity from this hopper. It'll only ever have one in it as the items are passing through, but that's all you need in order to get a redstone signal. And since that redstone signal will only be power 1, you have to have a repeater immediately afterwards. Otherwise, there will not be sufficient power to actually pull the redstone line. And that is pretty much the entire system. It just so happens that you can also use a comparator here for the extra duration if you really want it. This would be your other sort of output line. You could also pull it from any other angle, as long as it pulls from this this hopper. I'm trying to point to it and I destroy it. But as you can see, the system won't really do anything unless you have any items in. It's going to be basically the same duration as a button would be. But as soon as you put items in, and I prefer to use the rotten flesh, as the rotten flesh is otherwise more or less completely useless. As soon as you put an item in and hit the button, the system will work. It'll start emptying itself into this one, and so on. And just to show you here, this indeed will not actually work if you don't have a repeater immediately afterwards. If you hit the button, you can see the redstone signal just barely there. It only makes it out a single block because of the weak pulse you get from a comparator that's only pulling a single item. So yeah, I would love to hear if you guys have any ideas or suggestions on how this type of thing could be used. If you've seen other designs like this, I'm sure there's been plenty of people who have designed them, but I'd love to hear about your twists or experiences with any sort of redstone shenanigans. You can always leave comments below. I will have a world download available for this world if you want to see these the builds here. They're relatively small too. It's 6 blocks across by 3, more or less, and roughly 2 high. You do have to have redstone up here, so it's kind of 3 blocks high. You could also wire this redstone line to come like all the way around and point directly into this block instead of powering the block next to it, thus powering the hopper. But it's that's up to you. But the general idea behind the design is this hopper holds the product, it transfers to this hopper, and then this is held until it's completely full, and then it dumps it back in. And in the meantime, you can pull the signal from it whenever you need it. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video and learned something from it, and I'll see you guys next time.